All right. Let me start by sharing my screen. Let me know when you can see this. Can you guys
The
see my
screen is
screen?
visible, sir.
Okay, good. All right. So yesterday we started the session with understanding what cloud computing is. Okay, we saw what are the benefits. We saw what the types of clouds are: on-prem, infra as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, and then we also learned about the shared responsibility model. Okay. Then we went on to learn about SAP BTP, how it started, what is Neo, what is Cloud Foundry. Then we dive deeper into what is Cloud Foundry exactly and how SAP is using Cloud Foundry to create BTP for us. We saw BTP architecture, what are subaccounts, global accounts, directories, right? Then we started with our BTP walkthrough. Okay. We learned about what are the different environments available in BTP, Neo, Cloud Foundry, ABAP, Kyma. Then we understood what are hyperscalers. So the infra service providers are hyperscalers. Then we also learned about regions, various regions that we have in SAP BTP. Today I'll show where you can find what all regions are available, what all services are available in those regions. All those things we will cover today. Then we saw commercial models. So primarily two commercial models: subscription based and consumption based. Consumption based has pay as you go and CPA models. Then we ended the session after we created our trial account. So any questions or any queries so far, guys, till what we had covered yesterday?
No, sir, we are clear.
All right, awesome, good. So today let me start you guys with this. I'll give you this URL as well. This URL, please keep it handy. Okay. This shows what all services are available at any given point in time on SAP BTP. What are the various regions available on SAP BTP? Everything. Okay. So right now there are 95 services available on BTP, and out of those, 60 services are free. Okay. There are some services which you will find labeled as free tier, and then there are some services which you will find labeled as always free. So the ones which are always free are actually always free. You don't have to pay at any time for using those. Free tiers will have certain limitations based on some time limits or some quota limits, all those things that may be applicable, and that varies from service to service. Okay, there is no one rule how long the service will be available for you as in free tier. That depends from service to service. Okay, so in your trial account, you can use all these 60 services without paying anything. All right, then let me go to all services. Yeah. Now we'll talk about regions, right? So these are all the regions available, sorry, available to us on BTP. Okay, there are 24 right now, and these regions SAP can add, SAP can remove some of these, and even the services. So services list, regions, everything. This page, that's why I'm saying keep it handy. This page is very important. These things keep on changing. Okay, so for example, this new service that has come in, advanced event mesh, new. This is a new service, right? That means SAP came up with this very soon, just a few months back maybe. Okay. There are some services which are retiring soon. See, conversational AI, for example, is retiring soon. That means if you are using this service in your products or in your projects, you should look for an alternate. Okay, SAP will retire this service soon. Some services are in beta, so it's not recommended to use these in productive scenarios. Okay, so SAP is just testing these out. So this page, this particular page will give you a good idea about what all services are available in what all regions. Okay. Now, having said that, let's take a look at the free tier services. Someone saying something? All right. So we two regions in your BTP trial. Okay. Let me show you. So if I go to create, just a sec. What happened? Ah, just a sec.
Saurabh, just one doubt, Saurabh. Even the built applications, maybe, for example, with conversational AI will not work henceforth if it is retired, or we
Correct.
can.
No, no.
Okay,
So, well, SAP should have given a retirement plan for this. Okay, we can go to, let's say, uh, product page. So we can go to product page and so I'll have to look for that. Basically, they should have provided a plan for retirement. Okay, basically a timeline when this service will not be available. Okay, when they mark some service for retirement, they usually give at least a quarter or two to migrate our products. Okay, so if you are using any of these services which is going to be retired in your projects, you should plan for an alternate. Okay, uh, it
okay,
happens sometimes that SAP may not provide you an alternate. Okay, uh, for example, in case of conversational AI, there is no direct alternate from SAP right now, at least. Okay, maybe they will come up with something in coming months, but at least now, right now, there is no direct alternate. Okay, as opposed to, for example, Fiori Launchpad. There was a service called Fiori Launchpad on BTP a while back. When it was retired, a new service was introduced called Workzone. Okay, build Workzone. So it can vary from service to service. If they're retiring something, first of all, they will give you enough lead time to migrate your applications. Second, they may or may not provide you an alternate. Okay, then if I go to my trial global account and I want to create a sub account, so there are two regions available to me. Okay, one is US East VA and the second one is Singapore. Okay, now I told you guys yesterday that select US East VA when you are creating your trial accounts. The reason being, if I select, for example, US East VA here, okay. So in US East VA, there are 51 services available, all right, which are free. Okay, out of the 60 free services, 51 are available to me in this particular region. But if I go to Singapore, for example, just a second, I go to Singapore, for example, out of the 60 free services, I have only 36 services available. Okay, and that tells me that not all services are available in all the regions. Okay, so this is one parameter you should factor in when you are deciding which region you want to host your application in. Okay, it might happen that uh, you are trying to deploy a service which is using many services, but that those services are not available in some of the regions. You'll have to look for alternates. Okay, that's why this page is very, very important. All right, now I'll come back to this page once more, but let's first talk about the global account here that you see here. Okay. Now, the first thing that we will do, all of us, is to create our own sub accounts. One sub account will be given to you by SAP. This was created when you created your own trial account. This was given to you by SAP. But we can create more sub accounts. Technically there is no limit as to how many sub accounts you can create. Okay. So everyone please log into your trial account and create a new sub account here. Okay. Name, you can choose anything. Okay. Region, let's say I'll choose Singapore, for example. Or no, I'll be on US East only. Okay, description if you want you can give. You can click on advanced, you can say enable beta features if you want. If there are any beta features available from SAP, we can use those in this sub account. Otherwise, you can just click on create. Okay, it may take some time to create a sub account.
Saurav, what does that multi-environment denote?
Where do you see that?
Just below the region.
Multi. Oh, okay. So multi-environment means what all environments are available to you in this sub account. Meaning, so we have Cloud Foundry, Kyma, and ABAP Runtime, right? That's why it is
Okay,
showing.
platforms. Okay.
Yeah.
Saurabh, I have a doubt.
Mhm.
So, in what use cases we will be creating multiple sub accounts, Saurabh?
Okay. So multiple sub accounts you can create based on various factors. Okay. I'll give you four, and these are not mutually exclusive. You can mix and match. Okay, depends on your requirement, but at least I can think of four right now, which may become a factor for you. Okay, first is that you are creating multiple applications for different domains or different process areas, different lines of businesses, right? One for HR, let's say, one for customer, one for supplier, one for legal team, all those things, right? So you may want to create four different sub accounts for these four different lines of businesses. Okay, that is one factor. You may not choose to. Again, this is a choice. This is dependent on the architecture that you are trying to follow. Okay, but there are these factors. Okay, first was your lines of businesses or process areas. Second is your data privacy regulations. Okay, so yesterday we spoke about GDPR, for example. So European Union has this legislature called GDPR, and that is when we are creating an application has to make sure that all the data related to European Union citizens reside inside European Union. Okay, it cannot go outside. If it has to go outside, then that's a lengthy process of getting approvals and all those things. Okay, GDPR is a totally different subject. Uh, so data privacy regulations. Every country have their own data privacy regulations. So to stick to them or to abide by those data privacy regulations, you may have to in that region, right? And sub account is tied to a region. A sub account cannot have multiple regions. If you want multiple regions, you want multiple sub accounts. Okay. Now, third is latency. Let's say that you have created a sub account in US East and your users are sitting in India, then the distance from US East to India is too long, right? It's too far away. That means your users will or may experience latency, slowness in your applications, as compared to if let's say that you deploy our application in Singapore, right? Singapore is very close to India, only I think 5 hours of flight. So in that case, if you deploy your applications in Singapore, your users will not see that much latency. Or the best case scenario is if you have a region in India, then you choose India for your Indian users. So the first factor was your lines of businesses or process areas. Second was your data privacy regulations. Third was your latency, user experience. And the fourth was that not all services are available in all the regions. Okay. Now, combination of these four factors, based on these four factors, you have to decide whether you want to go for multiple sub accounts or not. Okay, it is very much possible that you do not have multiple sub accounts. You can do everything in the same single sub account. That is technically possible, and at least for production, not for production, at least for, let's say that you are trying to develop a product, right? In those scenarios, it is typically seen that you have one single sub account, one for one single product. Okay, let's say in your company you are creating multiple products. There are multiple teams working on different products, right? So that means, as an example, I can say there are 5 different products that you are creating. That means 5 different teams are working on those. You may want to create 5 different sub accounts for those products. Okay, so that the teams have their isolated uh, uh, containers to work in.
Uh, Got it, Saurabh. Adding
Yeah.
on to it, I have one more doubt. Like, if you say that we can create multiple sub accounts, and one example or one scenario which you gave was based on latency. Say, suppose I have created an application in one sub account, and later on I am experiencing the latency issues, and based on the region of the users, if I am creating one more sub account, should I deploy the same applications from this, or copy from here, from one subaccount to other, or will it be like applicable throughout one global account? Like, whatever applications which I'm creating in one sub account, will it be replicated in others, or should we manually upload or download something like that? Is we have to do?
Okay, right. So uh, there's no provision of automatic, let's say, copying of applications within various sub accounts. Okay, as you will see, there are something called spaces as well within the sub accounts. You have to do that for spaces as well. I'll come to spaces. Okay, but talking about sub accounts, if you are creating more sub accounts and you want to have the same application deployed in all those sub accounts, you will have to do it yourself. Okay, now when I say yourself, it may or may not be manual, meaning you can choose to deploy everything manually yourself. Okay, either via the CLI, like we will see, or via the BTP cockpit. That is one way of doing that. Second, at least on cloud systems, okay, be it BTP, Azure, AWS, anything. Okay, nowadays we have a concept of something called CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous delivery, right? So the way typically it happens when we go to BTP or any other cloud service provider is that we set up our CI/CD pipelines. Okay. Uh, you might have heard about Jenkins, for example, or Azure DevOps. Have you guys heard about these two things, Jenkins or Azure DevOps?
Uh, yes, but we are not aware on the functionalities part.
That's all right. I can explain briefly. Okay. So Azure DevOps. Okay, for example, let me just show it to you. Yeah. All right. I'll not go into too much details here. Okay. But let me just quickly run you guys through. Okay. At least the two things I want to highlight here. Here, first thing is Azure repos. Okay. All the code that you will write for your cloud applications should reside inside a Git repository. Okay. For our purposes in this training, I'll use GitHub for that. Okay. But uh, your company may go ahead with, for example, Azure repos, Azure DevOps. Okay. Or there is something else called Bitbucket. All these are Git repositories. It is used for source code management. Let's say 10 different people are working on a same project, right? Now, before Git, there was a way of maintaining that code which was very crude. So I will create a piece of code, I will zip it and then send it to my friend. He or she will work on it, zip it and send it back to me, and that's how we shared code. Okay, and it happens sometimes today as well. It's easier, right? Nothing very fancy about it. But if you do Git, okay, if you have a Git repo, for example, Azure Repos is a Git repo, right? That means you can push your code to this Git repo. You can get the code from this Git repo at real time. Okay, and after that, the best part about Git repos is that let's say that you have developed a feature and you want to push that code to the Git repo. As soon as you push that code to the Git repo, you can trigger the CI/CD pipelines from there automatically. Okay, you just have to do a configuration one time. After that, everything will be automated. All right. So as soon as you push your code to Git repo, your CI/CD pipeline will be triggered. Okay, and in your CI/CD pipeline, you may choose to run your unit tests, or you may choose to run your integration tests or anything. And once the tests are passed, you can deploy your code automatically to any BTP sub account or any Azure account or AWS account or whatever. Okay. Now talking about your scenario where you had multiple sub accounts and you wanted to deploy the same application in all those sub accounts, what you can do is you can come here to Azure DevOps. You can create a different pipeline. Let's say you have two sub accounts, sub account A and sub account B, right? And so far you were using sub account A. So that means you would already have a pipeline for sub account A. What you can do next is you can come here, create one more pipeline for sub account B. Okay, and you can configure it so that as soon as you push your code to the repo, your application will be deployed to both the servers. So both the pipelines will be triggered, pipeline A and pipeline B. And after that, everything will be automated. Okay, this will feel very different from the way you may be used to in a web world. Okay, so when you do your web coding in a web or ECC, sorry, ECC or S4, this is very different from that. But this is how things work on cloud.
Got it, sir. Thank you.
Sure. All right. So I hope all of you have created your sub account by now. Is someone left? Guys, please confirm if you have a sub account by now.
Yes, sir. We have did it.
Okay, cool. Now you have your sub accounts, right? So this account explorer page lets you create directories, sub accounts, and all those things. You can club these together, put it in a folder structure for easier management that you can do. Then comes your resource providers. Okay. Now resource providers are is a way that you can expose any service provided by AWS or Azure into your BTP sub account. Okay. Now there are already some services which SAP has provided us, which they are taking directly from the hyperscalers. Okay. For example, let me show you. See, there are two services here, Postgres and Redis, which are saying hyperscaler option. So essentially, if I click on Postgres, for example, right? Notice the diagram here. I'll show you. Essentially, what is happening? So SAP is actually using the PostgreSQL on Azure and AWS behind the scenes to give you this service on BTP, PostgreSQL hyperscaler option service. Okay, so these two services, at least Postgres and Redis, they have used directly, consumed directly from Azure and AWS. Similarly, if you want to consume any other service from Azure or AWS, that you can do here. Okay, you can map those services here in resource provider, and those will be available in your sub accounts in this global account. Okay. Typically, you don't do this. Okay, this is fairly a new feature on BTP. Typically, we don't do this. If we really want to use a Azure or AWS service from your BTP sub account, we simply, because everything is on cloud, right? Everything has an endpoint URL. We will simply call that service from within our applications. And that's typically how we do it nowadays. Okay, but you have an option of this as well. Then comes your boosters. Now boosters are guided, I'll say, learning paths provided by SAP. Okay, for example, let me show you. Okay, so you want to build a mobile app, okay, with SAP BTP, right? So this is a guided tutorial sort of, right, which you can use, and you can go step by step to create your application. Okay, so you can click on start here. Yeah, let it out. Okay, so it says configure an IAS trust, but not more than one to enable user. Okay, IAS is required. IAS is a different service from SAP Identity Authentication Service, which is required for these tutorials. Okay, that's why I will not do this in this training, but I just wanted to show you that you have this option as well. All right. Then is your system landscape. Now, let's say that you want to integrate your BTP applications with S4HANA on cloud, right? Or SuccessFactors or Commerce Cloud or something, some SAP product, right? You can add those systems here. Okay. There is a very uh, unique use case where you want this and where you have to do this. For example, let's say that you have in S4HANA Cloud, you are creating purchase orders, right? And you want to trigger an event when a purchase order is created. You want an event to be triggered from S4HANA to your BTP application. Okay, and you want to do some extra business logic in your BTP application. Okay, that is what you want to do. In order to achieve this, you will have to add that S4HANA system here. Okay, so you'll come here, system name, let's say that I have S4S, anything. Okay, type S4HANA, add. So then it will ask for example, eventing between cloud systems. Okay, get token. You will receive a token. This token you will have to provide in your S4HANA Cloud instance, and then it will register a system. Essentially, it is establishing trust between your BTP global account and the S4HANA system. Okay, this is required to enable that eventing kind of a scenario which I was talking about, that you create a purchase order in S4HANA, and as soon as that purchase order is created, you want to trigger an event from S4HANA to BTP, then you will have to use this. Okay, so this is an option available to you. Now, this was for when something happens in S4HANA and you want to do something on BTP based on that event, you have to do this. Okay, there is no other way provided by SAP. But if you want to talk to S4HANA directly from your BTP applications, for example, you want to create a new purchase order in S4HANA from your BTP application, that you can do even without adding a system here. Okay, since S4HANA Cloud is on internet, right? And we have APIs available to create purchase orders, to create sales orders. Simply call those APIs for data, and your data will be created, your objects will be created in S4HANA. Okay, so for SAP products to BTP communication, this is required, but for BTP to S4HANA or BTP to SAP products communication, this is not required. All right, go to entitlements. Now, there are entitlements here. Okay, and I'll talk more about entitlements after this. But in your global account, you can see service assignments. Okay, you can see what all services are available to you in this particular global account. Okay, and how many of those services, how much quota of those services you are using currently. Okay, for example, if you see this, uh, for example, uh, there is a service called Cloud Foundry Runtime. Okay, out of the 4 GBs available to you, you are using only 2 right now. That is what it shows. Okay. Now, what you can do from here is since you can have multiple sub accounts in a global account, right? As an administrator, as a global account administrator, you can decide how much of these services is available to you in any sub account. All right, that is something that you can do from here. So when you have created a sub account, so let me go to entity assignments. So this service assignments page shows on a global account level what all services are available to you, how much quota is available to you of that service, and how much you are using currently. As an overview, okay, at an overview level. But if you want to assign these services and their quotas to sub accounts, that you can do in entity assignments page. Okay, so when I go to entity assignments, you can click on this button, click on any sub account, select. Okay, now you can see that what all services are available in this particular sub account. Okay, for example, Cloud Foundry Runtime here. So Cloud Foundry Runtime, I have 2 units assigned to this particular sub account. Okay, if I want to add more, if you want to add more or remove something from here, that you can do like this. I have as a total, I have 4 units available in my global account. All those 4 units I have assigned to this particular sub account, trial sub account. Okay, and I can click on save. Now, since I had only 4 units available to me, and I have assigned all those 4 units to one single sub account, I cannot use the Cloud Foundry runtime service in any of other sub accounts. Okay. Now, yesterday there was a question about subscription based. If you want to add more services, that you can also do, right? For example, take this scenario that you have already consumed all the services, all the quotas of services that you have in some sub accounts. Okay, and you are running a subscription based model and you want to add more, you can always add more, and then you can configure entitlements from here. All right. Do you guys want to do this quickly? Create a sub account. You have already created a sub account. Come here to entity assignments. Try mix and matching something. Okay. Try adding some entitlements to those sub accounts. Save that. See how it works. Okay. I'll give you guys 5 minutes to do this. Let me know if you are stuck somewhere.
Hi, Saurabh. I have a doubt here. Like in the system landscape, you have showed us we can connect it to S4 Cloud, right? Can we connect to system other than Cloud?
Let's see. So go to system landscape, add a system here, type of the system. Let's say other system type. Okay. You'll have to provide. So see, when you want to connect to a cloud system, okay, so SAP provided cloud system, for example, that you can choose from here. Okay, but
Okay.
if you want to connect to another cloud system which is not provided by SAP, that you can do as long as you have the URL, you have the credentials to connect to that. Okay, but
Okay.
this system landscape, like I told you guys, we will use only in scenarios where we want events coming out from those systems into BTP. Okay, and they may have their own eventing mechanism. This is applicable only to scenarios where you want to trigger events from SAP cloud systems to BTP.
Okay.
Saurabh, I have one more doubt. For say, suppose a customer is approaching SAP for SAP license. So this BTP, will it be like separate license apart from, say, if they are opting for on-prem solution, SAP on-prem solution? So will they have to apply for this BTP account separately, or this comes as part of S4HANA license as well?
No, as far as I have seen this in multiple contracts, this has to be asked for and paid for separately. Well, there have been times which I know that let's say that you are buying S4 HANA Success Factors, Conquerors, so you are buying 10 different products from SAP. So SAP may give you BTP for free and may give you some discounts on BTP, but that depends on contract to contract. Okay, let's say that you are a very big SAP customer. Okay, you have run SAP for last 30 years and you are paying them very handsomely. So SAP will also make some considerations, right? It's all game of demand and supply.
Understood. Understood.
Yeah.
Saurabh,
Yeah.
apart from third-party cloud system, can we connect to a third-party normal system which is not in cloud from BTP?
Yes, we can do that. I'll show you guys how to do that.
Okay, so thank you.
Yeah. All right, done. Entity assignments, guys, everyone. Cool. Okay. Now, the last thing here that you see is usage analytics. Here, as a global account admin, you can come and see uh, how many services you are using, what all services you are using in your particular sub accounts, in any of the sub accounts, what all things you are using. Okay, this helps you track if,
Hi,
for example,
Saurabh.
yeah,
Sorry for the interruption.
yeah,
This is one small doubt. I don't want to leave without that. That's fine. So
That's
for one global account, we have nearly 4 units of services, right? So that we can consume. So it's not separately for one sub account, correct? It's globally we have only 4 units, correct?
correct. At least on
Yeah.
the trial
So
account.
okay, fine. So in case if we need to consume more than one service, means we need to alter, like we need to modify some, like remove one or two services from the existing sub account, and then we need to consume at that time,
Okay,
like whatever we.
yeah, let me go back to this. So there are multiple services, right? And the 4 units that I told you guys was for one particular service called Cloud Foundry Runtime,
Okay.
right? There are other services as well, many services, right? And they have their own quotas. So for Cloud Foundry Runtime, the quota available to you is 4 units, okay, in trial account. So you cannot go beyond this 4 units of quota on trial account. But
Okay.
if you are on an enterprise account, right? Let's say that you are running CPA, you are doing CPA consumption model, you are on an enterprise account, you can consume whatever you want to consume. You can use as much quota as you want. You just have to pay for that.
Okay, fine. Sure, get it.
Sure. Now, usage analytics, as a global account admin, I can see how much of a particular service I'm using in what sub account. Okay, this lets me track the usage. Let's say that I initially, because this is trial account, this is still fine because I cannot go beyond 4 GB of Cloud Foundry runtime. That is okay. But let's say in your enterprise sub account where you have CPE agreement, that means there is no limitation as such on how much you can use, right? That is a potential risk of abuse. Okay, meaning people can consume many services which they don't even require. Okay, so typically a global account admin keeps this handy. Usage analytics keeps looking at it. If they find that there is some discrepancy, they can call it out, they can get it rectified. Okay, otherwise you'll have to pay a hefty bill to SAP. Okay, now before I go into a sub account, let me go back to the discovery center. Okay, I want to show you guys exactly how discovery center works. Okay, so let me go to Cloud Foundry runtime, where it is. Yeah. Now, Cloud Foundry runtime is a service which is the main service of Cloud Foundry. Okay, you cannot have your applications deployed on Cloud Foundry, BTP Cloud Foundry without this particular service. Okay. Now, when you come to any service here on Discovery Center website, you will see some tabs on the top of it. The overview tab gives you an overview of what this service is all about, gives you helpful links here. Okay, you can see a number of links here that you can follow. Then the most interesting link that we have here is the pricing link. Okay, at least for architects and for developers who are responsible for pricing a product, pricing a solution, this is one of the most important tabs here, the pricing tab. Okay, now if you see this in the pricing tab for the Cloud Foundry runtime service, you see two different plans. Okay, we call these service plans. Let me actually show you. This is done. This is, yeah, service plans. Okay, so these are called service plans. There are two service plans available to us, standard and free. Okay. Based on the service plan, different service plans may have different cost associated. That varies from service to service. Okay, and different service plans may be available in different regions as well. Okay, so think about this, right? First of all, if I open standard, right? So standard, they first explain what this service is. Okay, then they tell us what all regions this service is available. Okay, so this should be available in every region, because without this you cannot do anything on Cloud Foundry. Okay, now right now I am on CPEA, right? So on CPEA, the price that is shown to me is 70 euros per month. Okay, for 1 unit of Cloud Foundry runtime, you will have to pay 70 euros per month. Okay, as part of CPEA agreement. Now the price that is shown here, 70 euros, is a displayed price. Okay, it's just a price that has been displayed by SAP. This price may not be the actual price that your company have to pay. Okay, that depends on your contract. Okay, let's say that your company has very good relationship with SAP and SAP has agreed to give you 50% discount, right? So instead of 70 euros per month, you just have to pay 35 euros a month. That depends, right? That's how normally things work in the world, right? You may get 10% discount from a vendor, someone might get a 5% discount, correct? But this is the price that is displayed. So for costing purposes, you can run with this, then you can think about what all discounts you're getting. Now, if I go to pay as you go, right? So this is another consumption based model. Instead of 70 euros per month, I have to pay 91 euros a month. Okay, 21 euros per month additional for pay as you go, which is substantial. Okay, so for a month it may not seem substantial, 21 euros, but let's say that you are running an application which requires 10 GB of Cloud Foundry runtime and you want to run it for a year. That means that is 210 euros per month for 12 months, which becomes huge, right? Then if I go to subscription also is 70 euros. You just have to tell SAP what you want to use. And trial, in trial, you don't have to pay for anything. Okay, this is free, but you can only use 4 GBs in trial. All right, so this is how you here. So in free, you can have only 4 GBs. All right, any questions on this? Okay, similarly, you can check for other services as well. Let's say okay, let's go with this. Okay, no, actually, I want to show you a difference. So I'll go. There is a service called Object Store. Okay. So I'll go to all services. There is a service called Object Store. This is not a free service, so this is not available in trial. But I want to show you the difference of services. Now, Object Store is a service which you can use to save your unstructured data. Right, let's say that you have a BTP application that deals with invoices, for example, right? So invoices that come from vendors, you can save those PDFs, those doc files here in Object Store. Okay, so Object Store means 1 unit of Object Store gives you 100 GB of storage capacity. Okay, consider this as your hard disk, for example, or a shared drive, for example. Okay, now if you see this on Google Cloud, if you're using Hyperscaler as Google Cloud platform, it is available. This service is available in 3 regions only: Europe, India, and US Central. And price of 1 Object Store unit is 6.75 euros for Google Cloud. If I open this, the same thing on Microsoft Azure, it is available in different regions, but the price just went up from 6.75 euros to 32 euros. Okay, that means you have to choose your regions, your providers carefully, right? There's a difference. 6.75 or let's say 7 euros versus 32 euros is a difference, right guys? 25 euros difference per month. Similarly, if I go to AWS, the price is 9.5 euros. Okay, for Brazil it is 9.5. For other regions it is 6.75. So that depends on region to region, provider to provider. All right, any questions here? I know this might seem a bit much initially when you are hearing this or when you are learning this, reading this for the first time, but you will get used to it. Okay, once you estimate a project once, the first time, you may face challenges, but after that it will become easier. Good thing is that SAP has given you everything here on one single website, so you don't have to go into 10 different websites to see this.
Hi, Saurabh. So for this, we don't we have anything like subscription for this
No,
for
it
this
looks like there
objects?
is no subscription-based model for this.
We only need to choose either CPA or pay as you.
Correct, consumption-based only. Now, SAP may add a subscription-based model as well to this. Like I said, these things keep on changing.
Okay, what if they have added a subscription model? Will they remind if we come close to 100 GB, or we only need to we only need to get track of all these
No,
things?
you only need to track that. So what will happen essentially, because I have done this myself, we were doing a project where we had 4 units of object store, 400 GBs available to us, and we consumed all those 400. And then when we went to save some more files in that object store, it started giving us error. Okay, at runtime on the application production application, it started giving us errors. That's when we realized that we have exhausted all our quota, and then that's where we went to SAP and we asked for more quota.
That can be tracked in the previous screen where you have shown like
Correct. That actually can be tracked here in usage analytics.
okay.
So Saurav, so it is the duty of the developer to track all those things, or the
Ideally,
solution architect?
no. So ideally, for example, let's say that you are building a product or you are implementing a project for a client, right? And you are using certain services on BTP, and you have then deployed that to the for the client, right? Typically, the way it happens is that there is a development team, there is a main product team, like we may call them, and then there is a BAU team, right? So when you implement a project for a client, you go live with that project, right? You provide your hypercare support, and then you pass it on to the BAU support team, correct? That's how typically
Yes.
it happens. So the BAU support team is responsible for tracking, managing everything. Now inside the BAU support team, there may be some administrators, there may be some developers, there may be some architects. That is something which they have to decide who will do what. Typically, the developers have this responsibility to track the logs. Okay, so applications might generate logs. So they will track the logs, what is happening inside the application, if something is going wrong and all that. Architect is responsible for sizing your application once, maybe starting. They will see, okay, let's say that I'm doing an invoicing application, and after talking to the clients, I understand that you may get 50 GBs worth of data every month, right? Uh, and they might run this application for 10 years. So given that, they may, so every year you are having 300 GBs of data. No, actually not 300, 600 GBs of data, right? Every year. And for 10 years, you then want 6,000 GBs of data. So you may want to add 6,000 GBs of data upfront, or you may want to do it gradually. So every year you may want to increase that so that you are cost efficient.
Thank you, Saurav.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions, guys, on this? Please, like I said, I have given you this URL. Keep this handy. Play around with this. Uh, you will find this particular website extremely helpful when you go and create your projects on BTP, when you want to estimate stuff and all that. There's no better website than this. All right, now I'll go inside the sub account now. Okay, as soon as I went inside my sub account, actually, yeah, I'll speak about the first page here. Okay, this is an overview, sub account overview page. All right, this page tells me at an overview level what all is enabled or what all is given to me in this sub account. So right now, as I can see, there are 83 entitlements available to me. Okay, that means I can create, I can use services. So it says entitlements, not services, guys. Okay, because some services may have different plans available to me. Okay, if I go down here, for example, the authorization and trust management service has 4 different plans available to me. Okay, so these are counted as 4 entitlements. The service is 1, but there are 4 entitlements. Okay, so that's where you are seeing 83 and not 60. Now, the subdomain of my trial account is this. Okay, this will vary. Basically, this is your global account subdomain. If you see this, this is the subdomain of my global account. So the global account name will be your sub account domain, subdomain. Right. Provider is Amazon Web Service. So this is my hyperscaler. Region is US East Virginia. Tenant ID and sub account ID are same. Okay. When it was created, when it was modified, everything. Then there is something called API endpoint. I'll come to API endpoint later when we want to deploy our applications. I will tell you what's the significance of this and how to use this. Okay. Then we have entitlements. Okay, all the entitlements available to me in this particular sub account. All right. Now, what you can do is, for example, you have this Cloud Foundry runtime here, right, that you see here. Right now, it is showing me 4 units available for me. Quotas for this Cloud Foundry runtime is 4. Now, this is available to me here because at my global account level, right? If I go to entity assignments and I choose the trial sub account, at my global account level, I had given this 4 units here, right? Now, instead of 4 units, if I give it 3 units and then save it,
And Saurabh, when you added 3 units here, the remaining 1 unit will be added in the other trial account.
no, I'll show you that as well. Yeah, then so I'll go to the different sub account. See, you don't see Cloud Foundry runtime here, right?
Yes.
So that is not automatically added. That is basically given back to the pool. Meaning, total you had 4. Out of those 4 units, you are consuming only 3. 1 you are not using anywhere. So 1 remains available to you for assignment. Unless you assign it explicitly to a sub account, that 1 unit you cannot use.
Okay, sir.
Now I have assigned 3 units to my trial account, trial sub account. I'll come to entitlements inside the sub account. Now you will see 3 here. So in this particular sub account, I cannot use more than 3 GBs of Cloud Foundry runtime. So that's how a global account admin will configure entitlements for your sub accounts. Okay, based on whatever they configure at the global account level, you can use only that. All right, now coming back to this. There are services available. Okay, so we saw in the Discovery Center website there are 95 services available to us on BTP, 60 on trial. Okay. Then every service will have service plans available. Okay, so let me show you one more service to explain this particular thing. There is a service available to us called application logging. Inside application logging, you see three different plans. Okay, light, large, and standard. Okay, now plans differ in their capabilities, what they allow you to do, and then plans differ in their costing as well. For example, the large plan for application logging is 750 euros per month, while the standard plan is 260 euros per month. Right, there is a huge price difference in these two plans, almost 500 euros per month price difference, correct? Now, what's the difference between these two plans? Okay, there's a price difference, sure, but what's the actual difference from a developer's standpoint? So I'll go to the documentation page of application logging service. Okay, I'll go to service plans and quotas. Now here you'll see what's the difference actually. So first of all, the application logging service, it lets you stream logs from your applications to this service, and this service will show you a nice looking dashboard of all those logs, so you can see in graphical format how many errors occurred in a particular time period, how many warnings, how many info messages, and all those things. You can do queries to find out interesting logs and all that. That is what this logging service does. Now there are three plans for this logging service. Light, okay, which lets you stream 10 MBs of logs per hour. Okay, any uh, uh, any more usage of this quota. Okay, if you go, let's say, beyond 10 MBs per hour, all those logs will simply be ignored. You cannot write more than 10 MBs per hour in light. Same way, standard gives you 250 MBs per hour, and large gives you 1000 MBs per hour. All the logs are retained only for 7 days for all three plans. Okay, so these are the limits per plan given to you by SAP. All right, so this is the significance of service plans. So when you are designing an application, you have to take care of regions, you have to take care of services, you have to take care of plans, service plans as well. What all services you want to use and what all plans for those services you want to use. And that decision will vary on the costing of the product. Let's say that your client has given you only $100,000 to build this. So you have to be constrained by that amount, right? You cannot go beyond $100,000. All right. So service plans, right? So this defines the limits of using that particular service, both functionality wise and cost wise. Then service assignment, we have seen what all services are available to you on the global account level. Entity assignment, we have seen what all services are available on a sub account level that you can define from the global account. Okay. Then comes service marketplace. Okay, we will see this next. So service marketplace, as the name may suggest, it is a marketplace for all the services. Inside your sub account, you can see all the services available to you in the service marketplace. So here in your sub account, you go to services tab, and inside that services tab, you will find a tab called service marketplace, right? So this service marketplace tab shows you what all services are available to you in this particular sub account, right? And since we are running trial, all these are free services that are available to you. Now, as an example, let me take which one? Okay, as an example, let's take XSUA. That is one of the most important service that we have. Right? So you can search for the services here. You'll get a tile here for all the services. You click on this tile and then you will see some overview, some description of the service, and then you will see what all plans are available to you for this service. All right. So this is what service marketplace looks like. After this, you can come here and create instances for these services. Now, what are instances? For every service, you can create an instance based on the service plans available to you. Okay? If you want to use a particular service in your application, you have to create a service instance. Okay? There is only one service on BTP, which is Cloud Foundry Runtime, for which you explicitly do not have to create a service instance. That is always available to you without a service instance. But for all of the services, you have to create a service instance. Then only you can use those services in your applications. All right. Any questions on this, guys, before we go ahead? All right. Now, so all the tabs that you see here, I'll explain all these tabs. In your services tab, you have your service marketplace, which we just talked about. Then you have instances and subscriptions. Here you can see what all instances you have created. Here, for example, I have created a number of instances in my sub account. Okay. You can see what all environments are available in this sub account. For example, I have Cloud Foundry Runtime environment enabled. Okay. In Cloud Foundry tab, you will see spaces or members quota plans. Now, in every sub account, you can create something called space. Okay. Space is where you will deploy your applications. Okay. Inside your sub account, you will have spaces. So one global account can have multiple sub accounts, and one sub account can have multiple spaces. Okay, is that clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, I'll come to org members and quota plans in a bit. Okay. HTML5 applications. Now here you can create your using your SAP build Workzone. You can have your Fiori kind of a launchpad, and you can have your applications attached to those that Fiori launchpad. In the connectivity tab, you'll find two things called destinations and cloud connectors. Okay. I'll explain what destinations and cloud connectors do. What are these? Essentially, first talking about cloud connectors, if you want to integrate to any particular on-premise system, be it SAP on-premise system or system from your BTP, you have to use cloud connectors. Okay, cloud connector is an SAP provided software which you install and use to connect your BTP applications to your on-premise applications. Okay, so for example, if you want to connect from your BTP application to your on-premise ECC or S4 to your gateway, then you will use Cloud Connector. All right. Destinations, on the other hand, are required for both on-premise systems and your internet systems, okay, cloud systems. So for on-premise, for using or for integrating with any other system, be it on-premise or internet system, you will have to use destination. And we will see it in greater detail later, how to use these, how to write code for all these and everything. Okay, I'm just giving an overview right now for everything. Then we'll go deeper
Saurabh,
into it. Yeah.
sorry to interrupt. Just need a clarification, Saurabh. How does the system landscape differs from Cloud Connector? I understand that the cloud connectors are only for connecting BTP and S4 system. How does the system landscape differ?
Okay. So Cloud Connector is for connecting BTP applications to on-premise systems, right? So it can be on-premise SAP system or non-SAP system, right? System landscape is only for cloud systems, all right?
Okay,
It cannot connect to your on-prem systems.
okay, sir.
All right. Then comes your security. Now in security, you'll see that you can add users here. Okay, you can add users, you can add role collections. I'll explain later what role collections are, roles, what are these and how to create these on your own. Okay, we will do an exercise where you create your own role collections and you assign your colleagues those role collections, and we will see how to provide access to your sub account spaces to your colleagues. Okay, but as an overview, you can add users from here, and all these users, then you can assign some role collections from here. All right. There are some role collections available to you by default, which are given to you by SAP, and then you can create your own role collections as well. Okay. Roles are essentially something that you create from your applications. Role collections are just like the name suggests. Role collections are just a collection of rows. You cannot assign roles to a user. You have to assign role collections to a user. All right. Trust configuration is the place where you will configure trust. So, as an example, by default for every SAP BTP sub account, that sub account is by default connected to the default identity provider, which is the SAP IDP. Okay, that is the default identity provider which is given to everyone. But let's say that your client has its own identity provider. Let's say that they have their users and groups maintained in Azure AD, right? Then you can use that Azure AD with SAP IaaS service to create new trust configuration for that IaaS service. Okay, but this is where you will do that. As an administrator, they can come here, okay, add trust configuration for that IaaS tenant, and that IaaS tenant can in turn talk to the Azure AD. And then you have the entitlements, and then you have usage analytics on the sub account level. Okay, now the earlier usage analytics was on the global account level. This is on the sub account level. All right, any questions on this, guys, before I move on? Okay. So what we will do tomorrow is we will start creating our service instances. We will start creating our spaces, and then we will see tomorrow how to create spaces, service instances. We'll talk about some mostly used services on BTP. We will also see how CFCLI works. All right, guys, then thank you for joining today. I'll see you all tomorrow.